A very warm welcome to the Big Jump Off preview. We are back, Jumps fans. You can smell it in the air. Winter is a-coming, and the appetite has never been wetter for the season ahead. Myself, Dave Orton, previewing a stellar bunch for you. What exactly have we got coming up on the show? So that includes a seasonal review 2021. We brought in Mottershead and Chris Cook, the big hitters, to help us look at that. We will be talking, zooming into Ditch Sheet, Paul Nicholls, the champion trainer, record-breaking year last year. What's he got coming up? We'll be talking to Patrick Mullins as well, the close Sutton maestro. All the grade ones they could add to their 17 last season. We will be getting some tips. The best tipsters will be in for you, more importantly, and upping the ante preview, and of course some social influencers along the way. It's going to be great. Okay, as promised, let's have a look back at exactly what happened last season. It was incredible, wasn't it? Of course, the pandemic was out there, hardly any spectators. That is going to change this time around. I will now introduce into the studio. You'll notice there are no Irish correspondents in for this because, chaps, Mottershead and Chris Cook, the front runner himself, is back. There's only one place to start, guys. 23-5. That's Ireland versus Britain. We all know they were going to take the Prestbury Cup.
Yes.
We did not think the drubbing of such magnitude was going to happen. Where did it all go wrong for the British team?
Well, on the racecourse. They just didn't win enough races. I remember at 1:38 on Gold Cup day, on an empty racecourse, the Tannoys beat out a message that said, we've got another non-runner to announce. I thought it might as well be Britain because we were already doing so badly.
Yes, we should stop right now. These two were the lucky pair amongst a few, and only a few, that were actually present that week.
We were, and it was incredibly surreal. Particularly, I think, disappointing, given that so many Irish Jumps fans normally beat their way to the Cheltenham Festival. They make the atmosphere, and this was the Irish Cheltenham Festival to beat all Irish Cheltenham Festivals, and they weren't there to see it happen, which was a great shame.
Well, the consolation, though, for those guys, Lee, is that the same thing is going to happen in March. I think it's going to be another serious drubbing. I mean, maybe not quite at 23-5 proportions, but I mean, it could be. I see some people on social media are actually looking for odds about an even bigger beating for the home team.
Whoa, come on,
I see people
isn't it?
people asking for odds about Gordon Elliott getting more winners than the whole of the British horse racing. And you've got to say, if you can get anything above about 6-4, that'd be a pretty good bet, I think.
It's always the one that we come round to every year, isn't it? It's about 6-4 on about the time of the festival. Everyone goes, buy money. And us patriotism, the patriotism is there, isn't it? We stick with it. Where did it all go wrong, though? Because we started the season so well, didn't we? All these great novices coming in we thought that we had. Looked like Philip Hobbs might have a good week. It's another frustrating one for Philip. And, of course, Frodon have won the King George.
But, of course, there's a big difference between jump racing and flat racing, not just the fence and hurdles. The fact that in flat racing, the two countries, Britain and Ireland and France, the horses take on each other throughout the season. That's because the flat racing has this European pattern which ensures that contests don't take on each other. In jumping, it's different. There are two separate patterns, which means that on Boxing Day at Kempton, we have a 3-mile Grade 1 steeplechase. A few days later, Ireland have one at Leopardstown. It means that the sport channels its horses in separate channels until they get to March. So you never really know how good your horses are until they meet the other sides at Cheltenham. Paul Nicholls, for example, went into the festival thinking Brave Man's Game was an absolute superstar. And yet he found there Bob Ollinger, a horse who kicked him aside. So we went there hopeful, but we didn't really know. The markets before the festival indicated that this wasn't probably going to be a great one for Team GB. I say in the end, it was disastrous.
So look, we've got that out of the way. The Queen of Cheltenham, as we called her, Rachel Blackmore, who took all before it. Of course, it spilled onto Aintree as well. Seasonal highlight?
Most of us, I think, who were going to Cheltenham, who were reporting on Cheltenham in any form, broadcast or written press, went there with a real sense of foreboding. It had been a terrible time for the sport. We know what had happened with the Gordon Elliott picture and the Rob James video. There was a real sense of fear that this could be a disastrous festival for horse racing. We'd had the COVID festival the year before that had created so many negative headlines, largely unfairly, but they had created those headlines. Rachel Blackmore rode to the rescue of horse racing at the Cheltenham Festival last season. She gave us an exceptionally positive narrative, and then she built on that at Aintree, because with the best one in the world, most people, they're only interested in one horse race every year. That's the Grand National. It had never been won before by a female jockey. Rachel Blackmore changed all that. I don't think you can overestimate the importance that she had last season on the sport of horse racing and how much good she did at a very bad time.
I'm sure Lee's right, and you're going to see the Rachel Blackmore impact on the sports intake of professional jockeys in future years. But just speaking as a fan of racing, what I enjoy watching when she's in races is, she's so competitive. I mean, I don't, in a way that I think maybe the wider audience that's not really paying that close attention to racing might not appreciate. They go, oh, who's this charming young Irish girl from the country who's living the dream, good for her. But there's really a competitive spark in her, and I think you saw that most clearly in the win on Bob Ollinger at the festival, where she cruises alongside Brave Man's Game and then uses him, this great British hope, as essentially a blocker to improve her chances, and sort of shoves him over to the inside rail, getting in the way of Paul Townend on Gaillard de Menil. You quite often see jockeys sort of making the most of their horses' chances, but you rarely see them mucking things up for their main opposition, which is exactly what she did there.
Just concentrating on jockeys for a minute, Chris, there was a saying, wasn't there, that Paul Townend, everywhere, a couple of years ago, everywhere he went, Mr. David Russell went as well, and he had that block in his mind. Do you think the jocks are now going to have that about Rachel?
I think whenever you come into that turn, into the home straight at Cheltenham, if you can't see where she is, you'd better look for her. Because she
going to mess with their minds.
That's not the first time that she's done something like that either. Yeah. She's winning races there.
And of course, Lee, it was all then. I love what you said about rescuing the sport, absolutely. But who really could have envisaged? I mean, such was her success at Cheltenham that when she crossed the line on Manila Times in the Grand National, we all just went, of course it's happened. But and the horse was well backed, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, I think there are two separate aspects to the Grand National story. The main one, obviously, was Rachel Blackmore. I mean, for years, I've been dropping into Grand National preview pieces this line about Elizabeth Taylor had been the only woman to ride the winner of the Grand National. At which point, John Randall, our great historian, always pointed out to me, no, she didn't win the Grand National. The horse was disqualified. So that wasn't actually true.
About the name of the film. I can't remember what was fourth in the
National Velvet. Pie was disqualified.
That's the most John Randall thing ever.
It absolutely is.
I love it.
But he was right. But I think I would have said it confidently in my lifetime. I would have not have believed a female jockey would win the Grand National, because for so long it felt like an impossible dream. It just didn't seem like a thing that was going to happen. And then Rachel Blackmore changed all that, and it was extraordinary. And I thought that moment at Aintree was one of the biggest moments I've ever experienced in horse racing. You can't say how big a deal that was. But you've also got the continuation of the Irish domination of the Cheltenham Festival into the Grand National. Astonishing stats. 10 of the first 11 horses home in a handicap were trained in Ireland. And it's hard to get your head around that. Of the 22 British horses that lined up in the Grand National, only 3 finished. Almost inexplicable, that level of domination. But it was an amazing day. Desperately sad that those grandstands were empty, because, aside from Red Rum's 3 Grand Nationals, and you've had Foynaven and Alderney, there have been some amazing stories, and this was right up there with them. Because as I said before, the Grand National is the one event that transcends our sport. We're sat here blabbering away about the Cheltenham Festival, how excited we are for the season ahead, and we are, and justifiably so. But most people only come to horse racing once a year. That's the day they come to horse racing, and they saw a woman ride the winner of the Grand National for the first time, and that was fantastic.
Right. Let's come to this professional reputation at stakes time. I can see Paul Kealy and Maddy Playle itching to get into the studio, but we cannot let you go, guys, without giving us a horse to watch this season. Lee Mottershead, take the floor.
Okay. Well, what is left of my reputation, I shall stake it on Vanillier.
Well, I mean, if whatever was left, it could go up in tatters here.
Well, absolutely, yeah.
Everyone's Googling that name, but of course...
Well, he was... in my head, I've always had a thing about the Albert Bartlett Novices Hurdle, or the Spa Novices Hurdle, to give it its registered title. I've always thought it's a race that floors horses. But actually, you look at the record books, and I'm almost certainly wrong. The previous 2 winners were Monkfish and Manila Endo, who didn't do badly over fences thereafter. And I thought Vanillier screamed future chaser, as you'd imagine from that race when he won the Albert Bartlett this season. Tremendous galloping performance. Easily forgiven his subsequent disappointing run at Punchestown, and I can't wait to see him going over 3 miles over fences this season.
Yeah, you'd think it would be fences, wouldn't you? And
Must be,
like a
surely.
lot of horses from Ireland that week, Chris, in novice races, he made that Albert Bartlett look like they were going downhill from the last hurdle, didn't they? Where are you going?
Sporting John is the one that's in my mind. Obviously, like Lees, he's already a Grade 1 winner. He won the Scilly Isles. And he sort of leapt out on that day, I think. People hadn't quite realised he was going to be that good. Beat Shan Blue at Sandown. Then the Spring Festivals went a bit wrong for him. One of the reasons I'm kind of expecting him to take a step forward is because the entire yard, really, the Phillips Hobbs yard, had a down season last year. There were high moments, but on the whole, it wasn't at the level where they're normally winning. And it's so interesting to see them absolutely hitting the winners lately. I think his strike rate for October so far is something like 30%. Sent 2 horses to Chepstow Saturday there, and they both won, including the Silver Trophy. I think it's going to be one of those seasons where you get a bounce back from a lot of Philip Hobbs horses, maybe even Deafy Desai. But Sporting John, I think, can be a serious name for the first 3 months anyway of this season.
There you go. So put it into your tracker. Check out the horses search. Go back and watch that Grade 1 win at Sandown. Has to be seen to be believed. More to come, according to Chris Cook. Guys, thank you very much for joining me.
Pleasure.
You put up with me, more to the point, but your enthusiasm about the jumps game is not hidden, is it? And it really does come through, and enjoy it. And we'll have you maybe back at the end so we can do a wrap up.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Anytime you want us in here, talk about Taunton and Exeter when can.
No more Telstra, sadly. And you didn't steal my big hope for the season, which is Montmirail. I felt certain that you were going to do that. All right, so let's go out of this and speak to the man who trains Montmirail. It is the ditch sheet maestro, Paul Nicholls. Absolutely delighted to be welcoming you onto the big jump off. The ditch sheet maestro himself, Paul Nicholls, joins us from his office space. Paul, welcome along.
Good evening, how are you?
Absolutely fantastic. Thanks, Paul, for doing this. Absolutely brilliant. Now, look, before we talk about what's happened so far already this season, Chepstow just about got things started. So much exciting stuff to come. We can't talk, about anything else first, but your record-breaking season last year. We knew getting up to King George time in December, you were probably going to break your previous seasonal best. 176 winners in the bag, 6 Grade 1s. It was a great time, Paul.
Yeah, it went well last season, considering all the circumstances we were under. In fact, we didn't start until the 1st of July. Horses ran consistently well all year, and we got closer and closer to that number of 176. And it all just went swimmingly, and we got there.
Yeah, brilliant. Of course, you've got all the jockeys, you've got the young up-and-comers. We'll get to them, Paul. We've obviously got to talk about the 23-5 or whatever the drubbing was. I've managed to delete it out of my mind at Cheltenham. Have you positioned yourself in any way to try and appease that? Or were you one of those that thought it's just secular, it won't be the same next year? What are we going to do about this?
Immediate reaction's no good at all. You're not going to change it overnight. It's like any look at football. You can have some fantastic teams in the Premiership, and that always changes. And for a few years they can dominate, and then it swings around with teams changing. It's the same with horses. And you're just not going to go and buy horses off the shelf overnight that are going to go and win lots of races at Cheltenham. It's circular. And back in the 2008, 2010, whatever it was, when I had all those good ones, it was almost the same really, and it just goes in circles, and it'll come back. You just can't. It's not worth worrying about it and thinking it'll change overnight, because it won't.
Yeah, clean slate. And we've had the October meeting, the 2 days. We've had some really nice bumper horses coming out, Paul as well, Outlaw Pete and all those kind of guys. But it's all about brave man's game. That's what the punters, was so excited to see him back out. 2 questions, Paul. Newton Abbott, early October, didn't see that coming. And what route is he going to take? Do we have any idea?
Well, look, if you go back to when Black Courton was a novice, Black Courton actually won that race as a novice. It's the incentive is there if the ground's right, because you get a really attractive weight. And he carried 10.8 on Saturday. I can't see him on Sunday. Sorry, I can't see him ever carrying 10.8 again. And Black Courton won that race en route to winning the Grade 1 Quarter Star at Kempton on Boxing Day. So it's a good race to start the season off. And he's not. Then I think Black Courton went to the Rising Stars, then Newbury, and then Kempton. So I'd say the same route pretty well. And we'll start off next, go to Wincanton for the Rising Stars on the 6th of November.
Yeah, so look, comparisons of them, and I've been down to your, house, Paul. I've talked to you about this before. We kind of compared him then going into Cheltenham. It's come up again. The way he jumped, Paul, was just unbelievable.
Yeah, look, it's just happened. He's running the same races as Denman, and I actually said somewhere that he was going to follow the same route as Denman. So immediately you get thinking you're comparing him. you can't compare horses until the end of their career. It's no good at all doing on there. But he started off in the right way. Brilliant jumper, lots of class, and yeah, very exciting horse.
Let's talk about some of your more established stars. It was great when Politolog gave you first Grade 1, of course, in the Tingle Creek. Then we had Clanders Oboe, it didn't quite happen for him in the King George. Paul Kealy reckons it's his bet of the season for this season's King George. Obviously, that's the plan. Starting off in the Betfair Chase again?
No, straight to Kempton. I think last year he had a hard race at Haydock. The ground got very, very tested, and he still ran very, very well. But it was close enough to Kempton on Boxer Day, and I think he was a bit flat and not quite as fresh as normal that day. So we've decided to go straight to Kempton, try and win a third King George with him, and then he'll do Newbury, Aintree, Punchestown again. Those are the 4 races we're aiming in for the season, as I said, starting at Kempton.
Wow, okay, that's breaking. So before I try and work out the chess pieces and who might go for the Betfair Chase, talk to us about the lovable Frodon. He's still got time on his side, isn't it? When you look at his profile, it's remarkable.
Yeah, young horse like Clan, they seem to keep fit, and their enthusiasm is second to none. And he's in good shape. He's going to down roll a fortnight on Saturday for the big race there, and he's in good shape. Keeps on winning races. He'll go down roll, and then he'll go to Kempton.
Now, this next question is going to force me into a rewrite, I think, because we were all thinking about, next destination. I had it down as Ladbrokes Trophy, Paul, and I'd love to see him in a Grand National. It just looks like he stays and stays and stays. That Galvin form in the National Hunt Chase, that looks really strong to my eyes. I think we'll see that as the season goes on. But are we now tempted to run him at Haydock on the 20th?
That's where he's going, yeah. That'll be his, hopefully the ground will be very testing. He loves that. So he's been geared up to go to Haydock, for the Betfair Chase. That's going to be perfect for him.
Wow. Okay. Rewrite from Dave Orton coming up before you're reading this put out next week then, basically. Does that mean you've got something ridiculously well handicapped for the Ladbrokes? Yeah,
obvious horse, Enrillo. Was very unlucky in the Bet365 at Sandown at the end of the season when he went past the post in front, and he can argue whatever you like what he did on the running, but he does do a lot in front. But he travelled so well in that race, jumped well, stays, won at Newbury before. So I don't run him before and get any more, of a raise in the weight. He's 147, I think, at the moment, so he's going to go straight there. And second season novices have a great record.
Yeah, they do, and he has one there, as he bounces off that good ground and stop the clock. 2 out in the Bet365. There's only one winner. What a performance it was that day. Let's talk about McFabulous, Paul, if you don't mind. Again, a horse I've talked to you about over the recent seasons. You knew going into that Kempton EBF final that he was ridiculously well handicapped. Didn't quite work out for him as a staying hurdler last year, but he's so talented, Paul. Where's this chap going? Is he going to soar over the big uns?
Yeah, he is. He's had a wind up. I think that was troubling him a bit for the last season or two, particularly towards the end of last year. That's been done, and he had a little setback earlier in the season, but nothing massive. It was just he slipped up in the yard, but he's back in full work, and the idea is to go novice chase and possibly start at the Ladbroke meeting. That would be perfect for him. Flat track, and then I suppose he'll head towards Kempton as well as Brave Man's Game. So we'll have to just see what happens with the pair of them. But it'd be nice if he could jump like Brave Man's Game. That would be a massive plus. But he's done a lot of schooling, and exciting novice chaser.
Yeah, one of the best jumpers in recent years, and old Politolog, of course. He'll be going back, I imagine, for a defence of the Tingle Creek for John Hales. You've also got a Grianatine who came good at Sandown, Sora Faltior. How's he?
Yeah, Politolog's not set in stone to go for the Tingle Creek. We could just take a different route. He could even go to Cheltenham for the November meeting and then perhaps bypass the Tingle Creek and go for the Desert Orchid at Kempton, because I just think now he's getting on. You want to try and avoid the very, very top ones, the best ones, and whether if Shuskin and Grenadine is going to go to the Tingle Creek after the Hall and Gold Cup turn up, it could be very competitive, and it might be just easier for him not to run in those very, very top races until perhaps Cheltenham in the spring.
It's looking like a sizzling division again, Paul. What about Hitman? He's a horse that everyone's excited about this year.
Yeah, so am I. He looks great. He's only 5 years old, still improving. He goes to Exeter for the Hall and Gold Cup. Him and Grenadine will both run. Grenadine will just need a run to take the freshens off him, put him right for the Tingle Creek. Hitman, hopefully, will run very well.
There's so many that I could ask you about, guys. Go into members club section, you'll see all of Paul's young horses coming up. There's one that I want to finish with, Paul, though, if you don't mind. To me, he is potentially the next second coming. I think a lot of people will say this as well. It's a horse that skipped Cheltenham. You know who I'm talking about. I was expecting him to go over fences. You did put it out there. You might keep him over hurdles. It's Montmirail fighting fifth. Is now breaking everywhere, Paul.
Yeah, that's where he's going. He is only 4 years old, and I think these days it's hard for 4-year-olds to be competitive with fences, especially in the autumn. In the spring, there are levels with the 5-year-olds, and I think if they just have that little bit extra time, if he's at this time next year novice chasing, it'll be much better for him. Start off with the fighting fifth, and that'll tell us, what route we can go down with him.
Oh, wouldn't it be great to see another Irving coming out the back and a champion hurdler for Paul Nicholls? Paul, there's loads. We could talk about Nappers Hill, of course. They're all out there. Can you give us a dark one to follow?
What about a nice juvenile called Matterhorn? He's had one run in O'Toy. He was third, unlucky not to win. Arguably, it's a horse we really like. But I could select any number of the dark horses, new ones for us this year. But the one I like is Matterhorn. It's
been a great start, Paul. We're going to hear loads from you. You can read Paul in the big jump off as well. The pull out coming your way. Champion trainer then from Ditchy. What a pleasure. Thanks a lot, Paul Nicholls.
Thank you very much.
There we are then. Paul Nicholls, champion trainer from Ditchy. What a treat that was. Right, we've had Chris Cook, Lee Mottershead telling us about what happened last year and the headlines for the season ahead. Now, many of you have been waiting for, it's the tipping section. The champions are joining me in the studio. On the panel, Paul Kealy, top tips, and Maddy Playle joins us as well. Mads, shall we start with you? Let's just get it out of the way. You love an ante-post punt, don't you? You absolutely love it. You somehow managed to fluke the art winner from Germany, 100-1. Can't even remember his name. Kills, you were there.
I was there, yeah. I was shouting on Tarnawa, and I was like, what on earth is this?
Yeah, someone got it right. But it wasn't just on the flat, Keels, because let's level it up a bit. There was, very annoyingly, I don't know if you bumped into Mads a bit last year, because of course with the office being down, we didn't see each other quite so much, did we?
Anybody.
All changed. We only saw each other.
Now you've got to figure out if he's reading other people's columns. That's what
the test of Paul Kealy.
I now get accused of copying Maddy.
Well, do you now?
No, you don't.
Brilliant.
No,
well, aptly so. All right, so your regular readers will know out there, everyone who reads the Weekender and follows you on Twitter. Your big white hope going into Cheltenham was?
Energumene.
Oh, annoyingly she had it at 33s, and that was what we've spoken about this with Lee and Chris. It was one of the big shocks of the festival when he didn't turn up. We're going to have a look at the chases. We're going to break this down into divisions for you. Don't worry, we'll cover everything. Do not miss this section. Let's start with the chases then. We'll start with the 2-mile division. We'll call it the intermediate division, better known as the Ryanair division to you and us, 2-mile 4. And then, of course, your stayers all the way to the Gold Cup Grand National, wherever you think. It's not all about Cheltenham, is it, of course, guys? We've got highlights along the way. Starting off in the 2-mile division in the Halden Gold Cup. You managed to get the winner of that last year.
Yeah, I can't remember his name.
Granatine, lucky I'm here.
Oh, yeah, Granatine, yeah. And he turned into a Grade 1 before.
You told everyone to back it 50-1 each way for the...
Finished fourth. Absolutely typical. And, it was a similar price then, wasn't it? I mean, it looked like he wasn't coming up to it, but then he actually put his best foot forward and he wasn't beaten a long way in what... turned out to be a substandard, I think, champion chase.
Is he the best of the British 2-milers, or are we waiting for the novices to just smash them out of the park?
He probably is. He probably is.
Negra?
Do we think Hitman's going to take the Grenadine route this year in the Holden Gold Cup and then maybe go over 2.5?
He might do. I don't think he's fast enough for a champion chase, though. I mean, I'd be more interested in All Mankind is a tough little horse. I thought he had no chance at Chepstow the other day, funnily enough. Back over hurdles, and he's run really, really well.
He did that at Cheltenham last year, didn't he? All Mankind, of course, the Skeltons, Dan Skelton, and Harry, champion jockey. They'll be going for it again, won't they? Is this the one that can step up, or Nube Negra, or are we really just waiting to get to Shishkin?
Let's face it, we get to Shishkin. We've got. I think the odds are. I think I saw 7 or 4 Shishkin, 5's Energumene, and 6 Chacun Pour Soi. Now Chacun Pour Soi for 1 will be 10, and I think. I don't buy that he doesn't get up the hill, because obviously there's a hill at Leopardstown as well. But whatever it is about Cheltenham, that was not his
What excuse did he have?
I don't really know. We're not in an excuse. Well, maybe he's not. Maybe he's just not a Cheltenham horse.
Does happen.
Not for me. I agree.
Not getting up the hill, but I don't. But he'll be 10. So we got these new boys coming along, and there is just way too big a difference in price between the pair of them. Don't get me wrong, I love Shishkin. Obviously, backed him for the Supreme Novices.
No Altior now, so we think he's sticking to this route.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't see why he wouldn't. At least this year.
It's Nicky as well, isn't it?
At least this year, and then if he wins it this year, it would be why change a winning formula, and he'll stay at 2 mile the rest of his life probably. But he's got a serious opponent in Ergermain who does not miss a step. You know what I mean? Just jumps really, really well. Won 4 chases last year by an aggregate of just over 50
Where
lengths.
did he come from, this horse? Because as a novice, his hurdle form wasn't that of a typical Arkle horse.
Yeah, but this is, look, we have this year in, year out. Everyone expects the top novices over hurdles to be the top novices over fences. And until recently, that never used to be the case at all.
It's often something Mullins does as well, run them over 2.5 and drop back to 2 miles.
When Douvan won the Supreme and then followed up in the Arkle, he was the first horse to win both races since the Arkle was named after Arkle in 1969. Then we go back to Flying Bolt. Yeah. And then, of course, Altior's done it, Shishkin's done it. It's a relatively new phenomenon. So horses can come from anywhere, and that's what we've got to remember. Okay, there's 2 things. 1, can they jump to start with? But 2, how much is physical maturity count? Because these are still young horses, and horses improve at different rates, as we well know.
Let's start. But neither of them have been tested yet, have they? Energumene or Shishkin. Who do you think is going to be the first one to crack? Looking at it from a price perspective, as you've touched on, I'd rather Energumene.
Well, you were certain he would have beaten Shishkin, aren't you? You're certain he would have done it.
Certain, maybe.
Come on, get it out of the way. You are.
I think he would have done it.
You say that.
It's a camp, isn't it? We've got 2 tribes, Shishkin and Energumene.
You say that when you've got to be in the bonnet, and there will be some people say Shishkin will never get beat, and others will say one. I'm in between. Obviously, I put up Shishkin to be unbeaten throughout 2021, so hopefully, nothing's Energumene isn't going to...
Got the slur chase to go, I think, Kills.
I don't want to see it in the Tingle Creek. She's got to go there, isn't he?
Probably.
Probably.
Now, Mullins brings horses over for that. Is this going to be a case of wherever you're going, I will skip, and vice versa? Henderson loves to do that with other yards, check out what's running.
He could throw Shack at it, couldn't he? I don't think he'll throw Energumene at it.
Interesting.
I agree,
he's going to do the Aidan O'Brien thing, put over a 2-year-old, check the waters.
A feeler with a horse with a genuine chance of winning as well.
We could go on and on about this. So, this is the division that's going to light up.
He used to run under So there, didn't he, in the Tingle Creek, just to see how the land...
Personally, I favour Shishkin just, but at those prices, if those were the prices available for the Champion Chase tomorrow, I'd have no choice whatsoever but to back Energumene. I think there's too much difference between them in the price.
You were about to have a swipe at him, and he's just come back.
He's just come crawling back to my side.
The great thing about the jumps game,
it's all about odds, though, isn't it? It's all about price.
Yeah, of course it is. Absolutely. I'll tell you what, you're pretty sharp. You've been on an annual leave, haven't you? You've been to Paris. I'm sure that you've got a bit of tweed on.
I did this purely for today. It's going away now for the next...
I spoke to him beforehand. He says, I've been working on the big jump off, but I haven't looked at much of the rest of the season. Now he's just blowing us all out the water.
Well, I'm blagging it, obviously.
Well, quite, absolutely. It will do for some. But the beautiful thing about the jumps game over the flat game in particular, we have returning stars, but we can also call them your horse. And I'm going to call your horse Energumene throughout the season. So we're thinking that Chacun Pour Soi, I love that. This is what you learn. This is why this is unmissable. Chacun Pour Soi going for the Tingle Creek to have a little feeder against.
That's just a guess. There's nothing confirmed.
All right, okay.
Like you said, he might want to keep the 2 apart anyway, mightn't he? So.
And come to Champion Chase time, the general consensus here, I weigh in on that as well. How can one be 5s and one be 7-4? I guess Energumene still has that Cheltenham tick missing from his box, doesn't he? So we'll see about that. All right, let's go up a division. One of the performances of the entire season last year that we had been waiting for it. We'd been promised this was the best horse in the yard, bar maybe 1 or 2 at Close Sutton. Allaho rocks up in the Ryanair. A race that has grown in strength from strength since the race's inception, I think. Will he become the first horse since Alberta's run to follow up?
He could easily do if he stays there. It depends on what they want to do with him. They dropped him down to 2 mile afterwards. No much for Chacun there.
That surely told him he's not a 2 mile.
And they tried him at 3 mile. Obviously, he's been placed at the festival over 3 mile twice.
Albert Bartlett.
He's actually second fab for the King George. Although the one thing I would say anybody looking to back him is his form before the spring is about £20 below.
Yes. He can be in and out, can't he? Where would you go with him?
I would go back to the Ryanair. Why change a winning formula? He blitzed them, didn't he?
I actually did the 2 mile 4 division in the big jump off, which you're reading right now. Most of you that are watching this. And the tricky thing with Allaho is, you're right, Keels, I said don't be too disheartened if he meets defeat pre-Christmas because he just doesn't win until January. We see it year in, year out. Do they change his campaign and start off like Min did in the John Durkan? Apart from that, you're thin on the ground with 2 mile 4 races. We talked about the King George there. Mullins doesn't bring over horses anymore for the King George, does he?
Well, this
he
is
it all the
this
time.
Is it. There's been one Irish contender since Voltaire got beat.
He'll just reshuffle his pack. I think that's why it's a challenge to talk about this division, because he doesn't have a real star horse that we know is going to go. So when he's run a couple and figured out where the land lies with them, he'll then decide which one to aim where. And we know famously leaves that last minute as well.
So unlike the Champion Chase division, where we've got 2 what we think are brilliant novices coming up, please Lord, this is trickier, isn't it? Because you've got 2 horses that have got form against each other. One with a big, cloud over his head because he fell in the manifesto when Espoir de Rome was leading.
Oh, Chantry House.
Chantry House, of course, who won.
Yeah, no, I didn't think
the Marsh Chase.
Yes, I didn't think Chantry House looked like an out-and-out stayer at Aintree.
You think he's going to stick to this division?
I think he might. It's not certain. Again, he's 3rd fav for the King George. It struck me as of all the divisions, the weakest one was the 2.5 mile division last year.
I'd agree with that.
And we've already seen, Fusel Raffles was 2nd, and Brave Man's Game, now I know that he was getting loads of weight off him, but absolutely toyed with him.
This was at Newton Abbott recently, if we heard from Nichols,
absolutely toyed with him. And I just don't think they were all that good. So he's
going to be Marsh, isn't he? We're not expecting him to go up against.
No. Well, I'm talking about Fusel Raffles, the second.
I see. Kills, he's not good enough.
No, but the form. Yeah, but what is?
The Ryanair fell apart, didn't it? He broke them, Maddy, didn't he? Mr. Fisher, do you remember, was the one that certainly me and DJ as well, we're all putting him up, weren't we? The Peterborough Chase. He might still have something to say, but Chantry House is surely the one. If you knew he was staying to this division, and that's the problem with Espoir de Rome as well, Kim Bailey's horse, who looks the real deal when he's right, doesn't
I
he?
think you might be wrong on that one. I wouldn't be surprised if they stepped him up to 3.
Come on, give it to me. You think I've written this wrong,
Chantry House?
No, Espoir de Rome.
Well, they stepped him up to 3 at Aintree, and he was winning. I thought he was getting tired, but I think he was.
He likes dominating, doesn't he? And the other thing to say about Allaho's division is there's a lot of front runners. Dashel Drasher, who was a complete revelation last season. More to come from him. He's 8 rising 9 potentially. You've got Fakir Duderis, who we know turns up at places at festivals. But
the old boys as well, Mellon, Kenboy, those sort of horses.
Where do we go with these horses? So Allaho, a general 7-2 for the Ryanair at the moment. You're talking about Ascot chases and things like that along the way. It's not just about Cheltenham. But are we surprised at that price?
Well, I never get excited about prices that short.
Kelsey could be long odds on come the time.
He could be a lot shorter, but he could also have that start of the season where he doesn't run so well, and therefore that price holds up because he's only going to hit form in January, February. So
I wanted to write that they're going to campaign him totally differently, and then you look for the lack of 2 mile 4 Grade 1s in Ireland.
And by all accounts, William Mullins hasn't given up making him a 3 miler because he always thought he was a 3 miler.
And now we'll move on. So 7-2 about Allaho for the Ryanair, one of those annoying prices, isn't it? Basically, it looks it's kind of like bookmakers saying, "Come and have a go if you think you're hard enough," isn't it? Because it could go well up as soon as you take it. You might meet defeat, or it could be odds on at the day. All right, that's the 2 mile 4 division. Exciting because we don't know what's going to happen. The stayers, the Gold Cup, 1, 2, 3 for Ireland, of course. Album Photo only 3rd in his hat-trick attempt. Aplutar, we think, going for Betfair Chase, we're hearing, in November. And, of course, Manila Indo, 1-2 for Henry de Bromhead. Before we look at the Irish contingent, are you expecting then Espoir de Rome to make a splash in the Gold Cup division? We've got Royal Pagaille, your tractor, coming back.
Well, Pagaille, apparently fit and well and recovered from the injury picked up. But
Betfair Chase?
Betfair Chase, he goes there. Like I said, as we said, related to several tractors, as he was described to me.
One of the lines of last season.
Last year.
It was the breeder that told you that.
Yeah, problem is, we're having a very dry autumn. 2 of the last 3 Betfair Chases have been run on good as soft and good ground. Last year was heavy. Obviously, when Q-Card ran, it was bottomless. So there is an issue about what happens. I will be staggered if Aplutar comes over if it's heavy. I really will. and therefore you're back to your Bristol Demise and your Royal Pagaille. That'd be an interesting little matchup. And the one we haven't mentioned, who always runs in it but never wins it, is Clan des Oboe.
Well, he's also talking about Next Destination. Paul mentioned
What about Imperial Aura? What are we thinking about him? Are we giving
Hills'
up on
horse.
him?
This is your horse.
My horse,
I'm a
yeah, but I
big
think he's
Imperial
levelled
Aura
off.
fan.
I think he's levelled off. I think he's found his. I mean, horses
Just didn't turn up, did he?
Yeah, not
Cheltenham,
not turning up. I mean, he's found his level, and it's not just.
But he
not quite
didn't
good
turn
enough.
up really at Cheltenham. I mean, Cheltenham was
I
the
don't think
factor with
so.
him, wasn't it?
Well, he got blown away by the pace that was set. I think, you know. I mean, he's a steady rather than extravagant jumper.
I love a
though,
Kim
Mads.
Bailey horse, and I think
Yeah.
Espoir de Rome, Imperial Aura. I'm interested to see where they're going to go
Might
because
make
they're
Kim think about
bubbling
it, mightn't
under. They're bubbling under in that sort
Could
of.
it help
thing.
Imperial Aura's jumping? And I know that we saw what happened in the Silvianico Conti chase with Master Tommy Tucker. It was a weird thing. Apparently, he looked at the camera, didn't he, and said, "Hey!" And then they paid the price, didn't they?
Yeah.
But that was a weird thing. Punters and pundits are like hate it when they go in with a U or an F next to Cheltenham. We were expecting Imperial Aura to turn up because he's a Cheltenham horse. It is interesting that they might think about going up. I hadn't considered that yet.
Yeah, I know. I always thought that he would get 3 mile in time, or whether he'd be good enough or not. And here's the problem: we've obviously lost Monkfish for the season at the very least. I mean, these tendon injuries, do they come back at all? And the rest of the novice chasers last year didn't look all that good. Now, when you're looking for a Gold Cup winner, you generally are looking for a second season chaser that steps up during that season and win something big like, you know, the Irish Gold Cup or the Savills or something like that, and really shows that they've done it. But I'm struggling because, you know, latest exhibition looks a bit of a plodder, doesn't he? Like, you know what I mean? And and Espoir de Rome, as good as he is, still got to make another jump. Now, I've backed a horse for the Grand National that I think if he's campaigned for the Grand National, he'll end up favourite, and that's Galvin. But it wouldn't be the biggest surprise in the world if he steps up to graded company and becomes quite good. Now, I don't think he wants.
I like the form of the 4 miler last year.
I don't think he wants bottomless ground. But he's afforded a one shot for the Gold Cup. He was second to Imperial Aura over 2.5 mile, and he was the best handicap horse of the Cheltenham Festival that year by a long way. And then he came and won the 3 mile sixer, as we call it now, last year. So he's got Cheltenham pedigree. He's won at Cheltenham earlier in the season as well. So you got a horse with good Cheltenham form on decent ground, which, you know, one day you'll get at Cheltenham at the festival. And at 40 to 1, he wouldn't be the silliest bet in the world. I mean, I've actually put him up and backed him for the National because I'm sort of assuming that that's the route we'll go. But it wouldn't be the biggest shock in the world if he actually turned out to be
This
very
year's
good.
Grianatine is Galvin, so make sure you get 4 places.
Yeah, well, you won't get 4 places, will you? You get 7 on the day, but you get 3.
I can't top that, I'm afraid. I can't top a 40 to 1 shout for the Gold Cup at this stage.
Shall we talk about, obviously, the top 3 from last year's Gold Cup, if you like?
I'm a big
Indo.
Manila Indo fan.
Manila Indo, you call it.
We did a piece, shameless plug here, 12 months before this year's Cheltenham Festival, so after, and I put up Manila Indo to win the Gold Cup. I think it was about 16 to 1, which is quite funny because he had that spell in the doldrums at the start of last season. You probably could have backed him at a far bigger price. Again, maybe it's a similar story to with Allaho in that he might be a bit in and out for the first half of the season, but we know he brings his A game to Cheltenham. Albert Bartlett winner, of course. He's just a real solid horse. And I think because he's not the most consistent when we saw him in those races in Ireland last season, people might underestimate him again a little bit. But make no mistake, this is going to be a big ask for him this year.
Okay, all right. So,
He's the right fav. I think he's the right
at
fav.
Plutard, any chance of reversing that form, or did he
why
just
not?
get outstayed?
Well, he's still only young, isn't he?
I'm a
So,
whopping fan of it.
Are you?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what his ground requirement really is because he sort of seems to handle anything, but I think his best chance of winning a Gold Cup was if the ground was a bit better.
Okay, so most eagerly awaited return of the season, Envoy LN? Can we agree on that?
I don't.
Not for me, but maybe for some people.
I mean,
No one's going to miss that, are they? Wherever he turns up.
No, I mean, I
We
think
want to see it back.
there's stacks of horses we want to see back, but I mean, you know, if you're talking about horses people want to see, I think Bob Ollinger is already this year's Envoy Allen, isn't he? You know, he's the one everybody's talking about now.
All right, that's the
We get
chases.
to the novices.
Before we move on, we could have gone on and on. It's been brilliant, hasn't it? Talking to Mads and Keels about this. Keels, one bet going forward. I know one you're really keen on.
Well, it's stupid. I can't believe it's still 5-1 now. Clanders Oboe for the King George. He's won it twice. Now, I don't know what went wrong with him last year, but he was held up of a really slow gallop and he was fitter than normal for the Betfair Chase, so might have backed off it. But after that, he showed they put the cheek pieces on and they can now put him anywhere in a race. Because he was prominent most of the way when he pulverised a weak field at Aintree, admittedly. But then he was always in command against Alboon Photo at Punchestown. Those runs say he's at least as good as he was. And when you look at the next in the betting, Allaho, is he really going to come over?
Yeah, he does cut up, doesn't he?
Nah, Chantry House. Nah, and then you've got other Irish horses in there. One Irish runner in the King George since 2016, I think it is.
There you go.
You know what I mean? So he's going to be 5-4 on the day.
Yes. It's a little bit like the Arc on the Flat, isn't it? We all think midsummer that they're all going to turn up and, okay, this year was a
he's going to be a
different
short price
rule, but-
favourite and he's 5-1. If you back him now, you're going to have a value bet. And, touch wood, he's just been as sound as a pound throughout his career. So
Corto kept winning it, didn't he? So it shows it could happen. Mads.
Senior chasers, I'm going to hope, well, not hope you're wrong, because I don't really mind which way he goes, but I think Espoir de Rome could make a big splash. I was gutted after Aintree, and
Would he have won? Would he have
It's a
beaten
hard
Jean-Dry?
question. I'll go yes. I'll go. I think raw ability could have got him there, but I just think the way he went through the race, I think he's got a bit of star quality about him, and I think whether he stays to intermediate or whether he goes up, don't underestimate him because I think he's classy.
Yeah, and I would love it, if Kim Bailey had that big championship win again at Cheltenham. But again, I'm going to go fingers on the buzzers after his first run. I think I'll know then. But I think he got outstayed by Royal Pagaille that time when they met at Haydock, and I've just got that in my mind. So now, don't come back at me with that. We haven't got time.
that was only 2.5 miles, though, wasn't it?
Exactly, that's what I mean. So I think Espoir de Rome might be the Ryanair horse. Mads thinks it might be one to step up. All right, there you go, Espoir de Rome.
It was 3 miles
Watch him
Aintree.
coming back. And you know what we've not done, guys? None of us have gone for an Irish horse.
Yeah, we're going to learn one day, aren't we?
Well, we're probably not kills. No, we're your chasers. So there we are, 12 months later, not even putting up an Irish horse, 23.5. It's like a mere memory, isn't it? Must do better in red pen, a lot of you are saying. But when it comes to the Irish horses and when it comes to the ante-post selections, there's only one show that springs to mind. That's right, the boys are back in town.
Yes, folks, it's back. And we're back. Wouldn't be a jump season without another series of Up in the Ante. And we're on to season 5, Gavin. Are you excited?
I am. I'm a jumpsman, Dave. A jumpsman, me. Bit sick of the flat at this stage. So we've a lot of stars coming out between now and Christmas, going chasing, going hurdling. So yeah, I think it's going to be a brilliant season.
Exciting time, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Exciting time. And November 9th, we are back on your screens every Tuesday from then until the Cheltenham Festival. But here's a little teaser of what's to come. So you've been getting your questions into me and Gavin on Twitter. So we're going to have a mini questions from the crowd. And our first question this week, Gavin.
Yes.
Before we even start having questions from the crowd, our first question comes from James Russell. And James wants to know, what are our top 3 novice hurdlers and novice chasers to follow for the season? Do you want to go first or second?
I'll go first.
Okay, go for it.
I'll give you
any of mine now.
I'll give you 3 novice hurdlers. Dysart Dynamo, Journey with Me and Kilcrut.
Oh, Dysart Dynamo. We know the other 2, Dysart Dynamo.
Yeah, won a bumper in Clonmel, and then in Punchestown, it wasn't a great winner's bumper or anything, but it was very, very keen throughout the race, and you thought to yourself, I backed it, and at halfway I was kind of going, oh God. But it ended up winning very easy. Might end up more of a Ballymore horse than a Supreme horse, but I just think at 20-1 might have a chance. Journey with Me obviously won the same bumper that Bob Bollinger won for the same connections, was just as impressive. Is he?
Stole that off me, yeah.
Sorry.
He's one of mine.
But we had picked out Bob Bollinger before from that bumper. Journey with Me was just as impressive. Look, it's very early stages. It was a point-to-point bumper, I think, so you never know. And the last one is Kilcrut. Obviously, I backed it at Cheltenham. I felt a bit aggrieved afterwards, but he righted matters in Punchestown. And obviously Sir Gerhard's a very good horse too, so those 2. But yeah, maybe Kilcrut might end up in a Ballymore as well.
You're not going to like my
Go on.
2. Okay, so Journey with Me is one of mine, okay?
Right.
My other 2 are trained by Nicky Henderson.
Okay, yeah, as usual.
An English trainer.
Are they bridal types?
They could be, yeah. An English trainer, Gavin.
Okay.
Would an English trainer ever have winners at Cheltenham? I don't know. Well, anyway, my first one, my main novice hurdler to follow is a horse called Firestep, who won a bumper at Chepstow and Suddle, would you believe? 2 bumpers, unbeaten in bumpers, didn't win by very far, But I just love the way he travelled through his race at Chep, so I think he could be a star novice hurdler this season. The other one is an obvious one. I Am Maximus. Any horse that beats My Drogo must be special.
He's the only horse to beat him, yeah.
Yeah, so I think I Am Maximus is going to be very good. And of course, Journey With Me. So that's our 3 novice. Fire Step. Have a look, Gavin. Have a look at Chep, so I think he's very good.
There's more holes than argument than a hedgehog's pillow.
Fire Step, have a look at him, okay? Our 3 novice chasers then to follow. I go first this time, okay?
Go on.
Best horse and sprinter sacker, Gavin. Bob Ollinger. Bob Ollinger's just going to win everything this year. Win everything. London Marathon, anything, the boat race, anything. Bob Ollinger is going to win everything. He's obviously the number one to follow. My Drogo, we mentioned him already. He's going over fences. I think he's a star. And one that won at Newton Abbott there on Sunday.
Don't start going about that horse again.
Man's Game. Yeah. He's no Bob Ollinger.
Do you own him or something?
Oh, I wish I did, yeah. I love Brave Man's Game. So there you go. Bob Ollinger, My Drogo, Brave Man's Game.
I can't believe that you're still obsessed with Brave Man's Game.
Go on, give me your 3.
Bob Ollinger is one of them. Now, this isn't who's going to maybe win or would you back them or whatever. It's just who look like being future stars.
Okay.
Bob Ollinger and Appreciated. They could end up going against each other in the Marsh, and My Drogo could be in it as well. So, but just in terms of top quality, the two of them have the engines to someday, if they ever stayed the trip, they have the engine to win a Gold Cup. Appreciated and Bob Ollinger. So those two.
And number 3?
Either Fernie Hollow or maybe Gallopin Deschamps. I know Willie trains the two of them, but I'm not sure if Fernie Hollow is definitely going chasing yet. It looks like Gallopin Deschamps probably will. He was very impressed in Punchtown, so 3 out of those 4.
There you go. There's your novice hurdlers and novice chasers to follow this season. Our next question comes in from Mark Waller, and it's about the Gold Cup, Gavin.
Okay.
He said, it's such an open Gold Cup. What is the each-way play at the moment?
The biggest race of the year. I think that Bet365 are going big prices on the 2 jollies, Manila Indo and Plutard. Albion Photo is going to be 10, whereas Manila Indo is going to be 9, which is okay, and Plutard is going to be 8. 6 to 1 and 10 to 1. They were a long way clear of the rest, the 3 of them. I don't see too many superstars coming along behind them. I'll give you a 40 to 1 shot, Esport de Rame, because if Chantry House is 12 to 1, how's he 40s?
What's that about?
Because who would have won at Aintree? Hard to say.
Esport de Rame would have won it.
Yeah, I think he might have won. He was a length and a half clear at the time, I think. And so at 40 to 1, Esport de Rame, but I still think that Manila Indo at 6s and Plutard at 10s.
Even each way? You have no problem backing each way then, Chris?
It's probably too early in the season to back each way yet. I'd probably wait till February, but I'm just saying that they sound fair value to me. And you?
I'm going to go for 40 to 1 shot, who I just think could be overpriced. Don't give up on latest exhibition. If he repeats the run at Christmas, beaten 3 lengths by Monkfish, when Monkfish didn't miss a beat and neither did he. I thought he ran okay in the Irish Grand National. I thought he ran okay. I think he's better than that. And he's not a 40 to 1 shot. I think it's quite an open year, and maybe he's not as good as the Manila Indos and Plutars of this world, but he's a young, improving, staying chaser. So latest exhibition at 40 to 1. He'll do me. And our final question in this mini questions from the crowd teaser comes in from Andy Napper, and he wants to know, do you see Galvin running at the Cheltenham Festival en route to the Grand National?
I wonder, does that keep Andy awake at night thinking of that?
Andy Napper, no.
Tell me this, Galvin, I don't see him running Cheltenham really. I don't think he's a Gold Cup horse. I don't think he'll end up in the Ultima. I think he might have 3 runs before Christmas, and then he might put him away, because last year when he won at Cheltenham in the National Chase, he didn't run, I think it was from November through to March. So I'd say he could maybe put him away again for the International. Small chance maybe that if something happened Tiger Roll, small chance he might end up in a cross-country chase, maybe, but that's probably a bit of a guess.
And right now, is he your idea of the Grand National winner?
I think he's got a great chance. Like last year, he stayed the 3 mile 6 as the National Chase is now. He jumped quite well, 1 or 2 little mistakes. He quickened and he battled. So I think he's got what you want for that race. And you?
Run Wild Fred would be me.
Run Wild Fred.
Yeah, 40 to 1. I thought he ran a cracker in the Irish National. Travel like a dream. I think he'll be the plot horse from the Elliott stable for the Grand National.
Okay.
That's Run Wild Fred. Now, folks, you know it wouldn't be up in the ante without myself and Gavin giving you a tip. So we're going to give you a little steer, an early steer, a very early steer, our earliest ever steer on a selection for the 2022 Cheltenham Festival. Gavin, 1 each, first or second?
Shall I go first? I was thinking of Energumine 5 to 1, but then you're going to start giving out to me that it's too short a price. So I'll go for Gallopin Deschamps.
At 8 to 1?
8 to 1, yeah, for the festival Novices Chase. I actually tipped him up in the review.
You did? In fairness, you did before you won a punches then.
Yeah, but anyway, I didn't back him yet.
So that's a beast, isn't he?
Yeah. So 3 runs at 2 mile, a few excuses here and there. Then he bolts up in the Martin Pipe, beating Langerdan, and then wins by 12 lengths in the Grade 1 over 3 mile in Punchtown. I just think you need a stare. There's a lot to like. He was the best staying novice hurdler. I think 8-1 is very, very fair value, yeah. Okay. If he comes and wins his beginner's chase at odds on, sure, he'll be 5-1, you know.
Okay, so 8-1, Galloping the Champs for the Festival Novice Chase.
And you?
I'm going to go for the Champion Chase, Gavin.
Oh, yeah.
What's my best trade? Forgiveness.
Yeah.
Forgiveness is my best trade. And I'm going to go for Chacun Persois in the Champion Chase. 6-1 with Bet365. 6-1 Chacun Persois to win any race, even at this early in the season, is just a disgrace. He should never be that price to win any race ever.
Can't have him.
Well, I don't know. Was it the track at Cheltenham?
Look, I don't think he had any excuse. I thought he got the run of the race. He comes there between the second last and the last, come win the race like he has done before at Leopardstown. Now, they changed the tactics at Punchestown and he made all and he looked amazing. But what's Willie going to do between him and Ennick-Green? Because Ennick-Green wants to make the run as well. So they won't take each other on. You reckon? Yeah. I just would really worry about the hill at Cheltenham. So I'd be all against him. But there you go.
Okay. I'm all for him. I'm going to give Chacun Persois another chance to end Willie Mullins' hoodoo in the Champion Chase. 6-1 Bet365.
You can have a tenner with me at 6-1.
Okay, done. It's on. There you go. So, folks, don't forget to tune in to the new series of Up in the Ante, Tuesday, the 9th of November. It's bigger. It's better. Well I'm bigger. I'm not better. What are you? Are you bigger or better?
Probably bigger. No better.
Well, you did the cycle.
Yeah, true. But
well
yeah,
done.
thank you. Every Tuesday after the 9th. So yeah, look, I think it's going to be a brilliant season. There's so many novices to look forward to in particular.
And none of us have tipped the loser yet. It's great.
Exactly,
we start from scratch, Gavin.
Yeah.
Our reputations are intact
at the moment.
So you're looking forward to it?
Yeah, no, I think it's going to be a brilliant season. Yeah, and even like Down Royal is on in the next few weeks. So like that's really the massive kick-off to it for me.
Yeah, we'll be talking all about it on the first show, 9th of November, Tuesday. Tune in. It's bigger. It's better. We're bigger. We'll see if we're better. Tuesday, 9th of November. Up in the Ante. It's back.
Let's have a look at the hurdlers for you out there. This is the division that everyone really loves, isn't it? The champion hurdle division, like the Chasers Guilds. Honeysuckle, hers to lose?
Very much so. The more you look at it, I mean, when you look at last year's Supreme Novices Hurdle, you're always looking at something to come through, aren't you? But here we've got Appreciate It, wins the race by 24 lengths, race that fell apart.
Daylight next.
Blue Lord, 6 lengths down when fell at the last. Chasing. Ballyadam might end up back over hurdles after that thumping fall he took at Punchestown the other day. But the first three home, it's probably the worst Supreme we've ever seen, especially in terms of British runners, definitely.
What's your fella James de Burley going to do?
James de Burley was hopefully going to beat Bob Ollinger in the Marsh Chase, but we'll come to that.
What about gluttons?
But, yeah, the good ones are going over fences and... You know what I mean? We had a Supreme Novices Hurdle with nothing from Nichols, nothing from Henderson.
It's remarkable, isn't it?
You know what I mean? We had, I think, 3 really weak.
Do you think Nichols is going to use that to his advantage, though? Montmorel, now they're saying they're going to go to the fighting 5th.
Now we're talking.
Yeah, no, you know, this is
because
he's
an
an interesting
him
horse.
About Brave Man's Game the other day, and he was telling me about his approach to not go too hard on them as young horses, keep them fresh. Cheltenham's not everything. We know Nichols likes that approach.
And yeah, he turns up at Newton Abbott in early October.
Could that work in Montmorel's favour?
Great Jackson was already proven. It could work in his favour, but he's a juvenile.
Yeah, no, so right, now we're coming to the Hurdle division up against the. It's historically difficult, isn't it? For
historically, it is difficult. It has been done. I think it's either been done by very good horses or very weak champions. I See You Then and Catch It, for example.
Yeah, Catch It was the classic.
4 year, very good horse. See You Then. And what we have got is a very, very good hurdler with a £7 allowance in Honeysuckle. And I don't see where the dangers are coming from. She thrashed everything last year.
Well, Sharjah was second.
She'll do it again.
Third. We've got to remember Epatante, of course.
Well, the third was Epatante.
Stank in the betting and it wasn't quite right.
Yeah,
Can she come back?
She can come back, but she's not as good as Honeysuckle.
Everyone was saying it's the 2 mares, isn't it?
Listen, I mean, we've had years and years and years of horses getting placed in champion hurdles, and the champion hurdle is the Grade 1 that has more dual winners than any other. It wouldn't be the greatest surprise in the world if the first 3 were the first 3 again, because I don't see what's coming up from the novice ranks.
Maddie, so let's look at that. So this is the time of year, isn't it, when bookmakers and ante-post books are looking at horses that could go anywhere. We've touched on that with the Staying Chase and the intermediates, and maybe even dropping back to 2 miles. You've got last season novices who are expecting to go over fences, but if you do a Ballyadam, Ballyadam, and supporters out there, but you might well find yourself back over. Sorry, Envoy Allen. You might well still be turning up back there if it doesn't work out. Is this the time to be taking an ante-post blunt, or...?
You say that, I've got a funky one.
Go on.
French Seal, so high up in the Triumph Hurdle betting last year, was bought by the Donnellys, of course, for Willie Mullins. Didn't run in the Triumph in the end. I think he's 50-1 for the Champion Hurdle. I know that's a little bit left field and we are talking very far out. We're not sure where he's going to go. But he beat a good horse, well, a decent horse in Coulter when we last saw him over hurdles. I think, given he's trained by Willie Mullins and he's 50-1 for a Cheltenham Festival race, maybe he's the sort of horse you might be willing to take a punt on because we haven't seen what he's capable of yet, and I think he's very, very good. I think he would have been
by the man.
I think he would have been right up there in the Triumph last season.
So we're looking at you were looking at the Triumph division being potentially the biggest threat to Honeysuckle.
Well, I think the novice division itself, otherwise, isn't. We know it isn't strong, or the ones that were strong are going to be jumping bigger obstacles. So that's the problem. I mean, my only problem is because Honeysuckle's reached such a high level and get £7, you are going to need to be a superior champion hurdle winner.
So let's concentrate.
She'll be very hard to beat, won't she?
All right, okay. So Honeysuckle under 2-1. A lot of people will be going, oh goodness, but she doesn't get beat, does she? It's not like hello.
I don't think she does. Look, I'm not the sort of person who's going to bet 2-1.
Who are you going to back though?
But
If
I'm
I
not
give
gonna-
you
yeah, but
a
I'm not-
tenner now,
I'm not going to back any.
Was Sharjah.
I'm not going to back anything. I mean, if I was going to have an each way bet, it might even be Saldier, just because that was a real good run when he won the Galway Hurdle.
Which is extremely valuable, and perhaps Saldier shouldn't be frowned on just because he hasn't really turned up at the festival yet. But you had Cape Gentleman was placed, Milkwood played very good.
Yeah, Milkwood was Cape Gentleman was Cape Gentleman obviously made a fairly sparkling chase debut over there. Obviously his task was made easier by Ballyadam falling, but he jumped really well and he's a decent horse, and Saldier was giving him £20 that day. Like, you know what I mean? It's a fair performance. So he has the ability, if he ever gets it right on the big day, I mean, he's as in and out of horse as you can get. But if I was going to have a bet, if you said, right, you've got to have an each way bet against the Fav now, it'd probably be him.
All right, okay. Let's have a look at the staying hurdle division. And again, we've had years of one horse dominating. We thought Paisley Park might do it again last year, didn't we? But again, he's had his problems, and we'll see if he comes back A1 or not. The horse that didn't make it to the festival, of course, and he's going to have that big festival. He's not done it really yet. Was third in that Albert Bartlett behind Monkfish. When was he third? He was third, wasn't it? Was he fourth?
Fourth. Fury Road was third.
The old ticker is up there somewhere, and that was when Richard Johnson punched the air and swore because he didn't actually get it right, and he got hampered and all that sort of thing. Is Time Hill the one? We hear he's going to France, of course, going down the Rev de Civola road before he does the traditional, starting off at Newbury, of course Ascot for the long walks and all that sort of stuff. Then you're on to Cleves and that. Maddie, is he the real one, or is there something
it's
lurking?
a funny division. I'd want to just keep my cards close to my chest for now. There was, admittedly, that was a very, very strong Albert Bartlett, wasn't it, that Monkfish won? But Time Hill's the sort of horse for me. I have a lot of respect for him. I think he's a cracking horse. But you just wouldn't be surprised if something crazy happened on the day and he underperformed or he wasn't quite good enough to win the race. But it's, again, we're talking far out. We're not sure who's going to go where. One horse who we do know is going to hopefully go up the Stayers Hurdle route is our Cesarewitch winner, Buzz.
Who's always looked like he wanted to trip over hurdles.
He did, and won well handicapped at Newmarket, of course, used to be trained by Hughie Morrison. Second in a Grade 1 when we last saw him at Aintree, and this could be the making of him, this step up to 3 miles. In a division where we're talking the Paisley Parks, we're talking the other horses who have been there and done it, maybe he's the next one to emerge with a decent challenge.
Am I mad to think the Classical Dream is going to do what he did at Punchestown?
The
comeback of comebacks, that, wasn't it?
I was going to say to you, on Racing Post ratings, who was the best hurdler last season?
Is that the performance of the division?
That was the performance of all divisions over hurdle.
Whoa. We're talking about the Supreme Novice winner, of course, that just went totally missing.
Totally missing, yeah, it came out and absolutely slaughtered them. Now,
Is he a Pen Hill, though?
you take...
Punchestown
You know
form.
he's going to turn
Sorry,
up
Punchestown.
on the day. He's quite fragile.
still going to be 14.
And it's that Punchestown form is at the end of the season.
Yeah,
not horses.
you can take Punchestown form at the end of the season with a pitch of salt. You can say the same about Aintree, but some very good horses have won at the end of the season. She likes Don Cossack and all that before he came out and done it. So it's not just let's just write it off. We know that Classical Dream was a very good horse. Now he's another one for who we don't know where he's going, what he's doing, because you know how Willie Mullins likes to mix it up over distances anyway. He's always jumped a hurdle like he could do with jumping a fence. And so we don't know what he's going to. I'm still having an iron over whether to put him in the preview of my novice chasers that I'm doing for the pull-out.
Yep.
I suppose he ought to go in, even though we don't know. But he is very good on his day. We know that. We know he acts around Cheltenham. I gather Vanillier and Statler are going over fences.
Looks that way.
So that's two of those out. But Florian Porter was very good when he was very good on the day.
Forget his last run.
No reason.
Over top,
exactly. No reason why he won't come back as good as that again.
Graham Rodway's bet at a festival. I'm pretty sure he was his only winner actually, but he was screaming in the studio at me and here, and he absolutely this follows up. Gav Cromwell, also the trainer of Vanillier as well.
Yeah,
I got it out there. Okay, so stayers, Time Hill, lovely Oars, might be vulnerable.
Yeah, I think probably. He's the big British hope. If Buzz goes that route, it looks like he'd stay forever, doesn't it? Then he's a player. But I think you've got to fear the Irish. I think they're going to be strong. And if it's not Classical Dream, it might be Florian Porter, and it might be something else. There's plenty. There's plenty of strong stayers that will get coming over.
And people Googling French Cecile rapidly now as well. All right, those are your hurdlers. Exciting stuff. So we've mentioned French Cecile, we've mentioned Classical Dream. They're all out there. Let's go to Close Sutton and find out exactly what the big team think of them. Thrilled to say that joining us from his Close Sutton base, then it is Patrick Mullins, the winning most amateur jockey of all time. Willie Mullins' son, of course. Integral cog in the wheel there. Patrick, welcome along.
Thanks so much, Dave. Good to be here.
Great to have you on the big jump off, man. I mean, it's a good concept, this, isn't it? Like your football, I know you're a big fan. Let's give it. The appetite for the season ahead is massive, right? Crowds back?
Oh, yeah. This is, for us, our horses are still a long way off running now. They're 3 or 4 weeks away, but they're all coming along there nice and slowly, and they're all in one piece, and they're all still nice and shiny and new. So it's a great time of year. It's Christmas Eve, really.
Quite, absolutely. We're not quite there yet, are we? Flat season still on both sides of the sea still to get rid of, but we're not far off November. That's when the Mullins yard sizzles up. Talking about sizzling, another hot season for you last season. 170 winners we counted, and that's for a remarkable season-long strike rate of 27%, 17 Grade 1 winners. But Patrick, before I throw tons of horses at you for the viewers, which you can either bat off or I'll keep coming back for some more with, yourself personally, frustrating season, Patrick, wasn't it? How long is Cheltenham? Have you got it knocked off on the calendar so you can get back over there?
Yeah, not to get to Cheltenham was a bit of a kick in the balls, but funny as it turned out, I think three of the 4 rides I wanted to really ride in came second. So luckily I didn't miss anything. I know Jamie missed a couple of winners, so that would have been much tougher for him. But I had a great punch down, ended up leading jockey a punch down thanks to Paul's gammy ankle. And I think we were level in Galway this year on he beat me on prize money, I think, for top jockey. So no, it was a good year all around. It was disappointing not to get to Cheltenham.
Listen, it'll be happening this time around, please, Lord. Patrick, right, this is the moment the viewers have been waiting for. Let's talk about some of the big hitters and perhaps some of the lesser name knowns as well. It'd be remiss of me not to start with Album Photo. Then, Patrick, your dad has said in recent weeks we could be expecting a slightly different campaign.
Perhaps, but Willie says a lot of things. Who knows? Like I said, usually he's always been aimed at the Gold Cup, but this year he's a bit older. I think no horse of his age has won since the early 90s.
Yeah.
So do you continue to base the whole season around the Gold Cup, or do you maybe go and try to take some other prizes before that? Now, I do think his preparation last year for the Gold Cup wasn't exactly like it always is because of COVID and different restrictions that came in, but I don't really think it was a massive excuse. And being a year older, the 2 horses that finish in front of him look like they're coming into their prime, whereas perhaps we're coming to the end of our prime. So it's definitely an option. But there's not many options for it. To run a horse that came bar, maybe even back over hurdles or something. But perhaps he might have a run between Christmas and Cheltenham this year. But it's definitely something that we'll consider.
Okay, so Tremora thinking, hang on a minute, we need our poster boy back on New Year's Day. We'll see about that one. All right, so you talk about not many options for him. Now, I guess perhaps This is the interesting horse for people out there, Patrick. A devastating Ryanair success for Allaho. It all finally kicked into play. There's a couple of things though, Patrick. This chap hasn't won before January since he's joined you, that's for sure. Suggests he's more of a later season type. And there aren't a lot of 2 mile 4 races, bar the John Durkan. No Min, of course, sadly we know now. 2 questions. Are you going to campaign him solely around the 2 mile 4 intermediate mark? There are people talking about the King George. Could you stretch him out up to 3 miles again?
Yeah, we tried that in his novice years, and he just didn't seem to get home in the Albert Bartlett order, where I say, he likes to get on with things. He likes to roll away. Kempton, you could possibly try it. There's a lot of jumping, and he jumps so well, that gives him a chance to get a breather. But I don't know, is the King George an easy 3 miles? I've yet to see one that doesn't stay 3 miles win it. Anyway, but look, I imagine he steps into Min's shoes. John Durkan is there, and then there's a Dublin Race Festival. Perhaps he skips Christmas altogether. If you're running the John Durkan, it's quite close to Christmas. And it's not. I'd love to see the John Durkan brought back to the Morgiana meeting and have a proper weekend of racing there. And that means you could run there and go again at Christmas. You might have to fiddle around with the Clonmel Oil, but I don't think a lot of horses do the two. So I think that's something that could be done.
I wondered if he might travel, maybe have a look at Ascot or something like that. Of course, no horse since 2016 from Ireland has come over for the King George. It tends to be a red herring, doesn't it? So that's interesting. Sounds like you're going to wisely concentrate on that Ryanair division, as we call it, the 2 mile 4, because it's a bit thin. Who's going to step up? Who's going to go down? I'll tell you what, another horse that could travel. It didn't happen for him in the Champion Chase, but either side of that at Cheltenham, it was Chacun Pour Soi's year, wasn't it?
Chacun is a monster, and it's so unfortunate that injury robbed him of so much of his early career, and then a very small injury robbed him of 2 years ago. And I think we just got our tactics all wrong this year. It was a very slow run race, which we didn't necessarily think would be a negative for him, but with the benefit of hindsight, what Paul did with him in Punchestown was extraordinary. I think that was the race of the season for me. He took Allaho out of his comfort zone. That just shows you the specialist 2 milers against the 2.5 milers, the slight difference. So for me, Chacun is the one they have to beat. I mean, look, Put the Kettle On runs fantastically well around Cheltenham, but we'd like another go.
Well, this is getting interesting because there are other candidates emerging, and Paul Kealy's got a theory. This will annoy you. Maybe Willie's working on this, and maybe something you might have talked about in the tactics room, the boot room, I don't know. Could he be the runner in the Tingle Creek and get a line on Shishkin nice and early for Energamine?
Yeah, I mean, it's a possibility because obviously we have Energamine has to slot in somewhere this year, and the hilly way down in Cork being a grade 2 would be a lovely stepping stone for him, perhaps. To dip his toes in the open company. So could Chacun come over? It's not impossible. And it might be no harm to give him some practice travelling again. But, it's definitely a possibility, yeah.
Very interesting. So Energamine, this is on Energamine, however we say it. This is the one that punters, race fans, jump fans, anyone alike, this is the guy, Patrick, I think that everyone's expecting to... people were... there are 2 tribes, aren't there? There's Shishkin, there's Energamine. We're expecting them to fight out. Certainly the market suggests they'll be the top 2 favourites come Champion Chase time. No temptation to step him back up?
Energamine, no. I mean, look, he's versatile. He could step back up, but he looks, he's been electric over 2 miles, hasn't he? He's the same sire and dam sire as Undersow, and he has a similar way of going. He's a bit more laid back, but he likes to run and jump. And if you could get Shishkin and Energamine with taking on Chacun Pour Soi, wouldn't that be some race come March?
Oh, unbelievable scenes that would be. Absolutely. Right, Patrick, let's get the speed up here. A horse that basically beat Bob Ollinger, and then we didn't see him, Fernie Hollow. Where does he go?
Fernie Hollow, yeah. I somehow managed to get him bet in 2 bumpers. The first time out, he was far too keen. So the second time, we decided to jump him off in front and hope he'd settle there, but he didn't. So the third time, we dropped him in last and put a hood on him, and that was the key to him. Paul did the same then in Cheltenham, and he won. Beat Appreciated. I'm not sure Appreciate was at his best that day. I was a bit disappointed with how he picked up off the bend. And then obviously he came out and beat Bob Ollinger last year. So for me, he's as exciting as any horse in England or Ireland at the moment. He's a point-to-point winning Westerner. He's a big 16-3 horse. He looks like he would have been bought you'd say he's a Gold Cup horse. But you know, could he, after beating the Supreme winner and the Ballymore winner, could he be a champion hurdle horse? I mean, that'll have to be considered. I mean, probably the most obvious thing to do is go off chasing with him, because if he did go champion hurdle route, he only has one run over hurdles, which would make him essentially a novice. And with regards to trip, I imagine 2 miles, 2.5 miles. He seems a much more relaxed character now at home, so he has lots of options.
Yeah, your headline in the Racing Post the other day suggests he's certainly summoned very well. Let's stick with some of the Cheveley Park horses then. Of course, you mentioned a few, but Sir Gerhardt, obviously you inherited him Cheltenham and the Champion Bumper. Is he going to stick to the 2 mile division as most people expect, or...?
Well, it's amazing. You seem to have a replay of Appreciating Fernie Hollow in Kilcrut and Sir Gerhardt this year. So, I mean, last year, obviously, everyone would have thought Fernie Hollow would be the 2 mile horse and that Appreciate would be 2.5. I would say both of them are versatile with regards to that. I do think both of them perhaps underperformed in Punchdown, but maybe they didn't. And if that's the case, the horse that was second, Crawford's horse, has to get a lot of respect. But Sir Gerhardt, he's a point-to-point winner by Jeremy. He's a bigger, burlier type than Kilcrut. So I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up over 2 miles. He settles or over 2.5 miles, because he settles very well as well. But look, it'll depend on how the season goes. To be honest, those real good horses, I wouldn't get too worried about the trip.
Let's look at some of the darker ones, and if you don't mind, Patrick, as well, before we talk about Appreciate It, or on a sort of crescendo with him. Let's talk about some of the darker ones then. Classic Getaway. How much did you pay for him?
Well, we didn't pay for him. He was sent to us. So himself and Grangecar West and Sir Gerard came down, so he's by far the most expensive horse ever to arrive into the yard. I was riding him all last spring. Willie took his time with them. He ended up winning a bumper in May because it was very wet May. Generally, we wouldn't run that calibre of horses in May, but we did it with Faugheen many years ago when it was nice weather. Again, he's a fine, big chasing type. He'll go jumping because he's 5 and he's a big horse. We don't want to be hanging around with him. I would imagine he could be, for me, he's 2.5, 3 miles. He's a big galloper in my book.
Very interesting. What about Dark Raven for the Simon and Isaac Suede Munir combination? He looked very good to me at Fairyhouse.
He did. He's a funny horse. He's much smaller, much shorter than, say, Classic Getaway and Grangecar West, but wouldn't show you an awful lot at home. We were pleasantly surprised when he won at Leopardstown. And then all the way through the middle of the race in Fairyhouse, I'm thinking, I'm not going here. But every time I got down and given him a shove, he's picked up. And then once he's got daylight in the straight, he's won as he likes. So he's a very laid-back horse, which gives him scope to step up and trip. But he's not slow, so again, he's got plenty of options.
I've tipped him as Cheltenham material in the pull-out, so I'm delighted to hear that. We'll keep going on. There's so many we could talk about. Patrick, what about, okay, we've mentioned Kilcrut and we've mentioned Sir Gerhard. What about a Gaillard de Menil, who we know split Brave Man's game, so he did at the weekend, and of course Bob Oninger. Where's he going to go?
Good. Yeah, his run in Cheltenham was very good. He probably disappointed a little bit in Punchestown, but he got the job done, which is always a sign of a good horse when they win when not on form. He wouldn't be as big and as burly now as Sir Gerard or Kilcrut. I imagine we haven't schooled any of the horses yet. I imagine we'll school him and see how he jumps, but it's not impossible he could stay over hurdles, but we'll see how he schools. But he's not as big as a lot of the other horses that might be going chasing. Sorry, like Fernie Hollow would appreciate it if they end up going, but he could be more of a hurdler possibly.
Well, that's interesting because that would suggest that Galopin Deschamps might be the one to go over the bigger obstacles?
Oh, I would think so. He looks every inch a chaser. He reminds me a lot of Sir Deschamps, Stom Polly. I know they all won the same race, but a very laid-back type, long horse. Not overly big, but plenty of big scope to jump a fence. I think he could be a real RSA or maybe even a national.
He's got in the first mention of the National Hunt Chase there, absolutely. That'll rage on throughout the season. He's very exciting wherever he goes. Now, Patrick, 2 more to talk about before we let you go. It's been absolutely superb so far. Mini stable tour, basically, viewers who are out there. Let's talk about the biggest figure allotted to any hurdler, male hurdler, not honeysuckle, of course, last season was Classical Dream around Punchestown. Blew up the RPR machine. He looks a real crown, potentially in the Stayers Hurdle division. But is again there a temptation to try fences with him?
There will be. I mean, look, he was declared in a beginner's chase at Christmas in Leopardstown. He's school over fences. He jumps well. Then he got injured, and we didn't want to go jumping fences late in the season, so we ran him in the stairs hurdle, and I was quite happy to get on him. I'd been riding him a bit at home. That race, it was a fantastic performance, but it was a particularly strong run race. There was a lot of pace in it. Like, I was getting run away with down to the first, and I was losing ground. It was just a very strongly run race. There was no let up, and perhaps that exaggerated his performance. But nevertheless, I mean, he's won a Supreme. He's a top class horse. Do we have a huge amount of novice chasers? We probably do. Do we have a huge amount of stairs hurdles? Not as much. So I suppose it'll depend how they all school now later on in the month.
Yeah, okay, the chess pieces is being assembled at Close Sutton. I'm loving this. Right, I'm going to finish with my favourite. Appreciate it. I think he should stay hurdling, Patrick. You're going to think I'm talking absolute tosh. He's, of course, rising 8-year-old, isn't he? I'm not sure about them in the novice division, really. He's the absolute apple of my eye, and yours as well, right?
He's a beautiful horse. He's a really beautiful horse. Again, another one I got beaten at bumper first time. But I got himself and Fernie Hollow beaten the same weekend. That was a good weekend. But no, he's just improved with age. He's that big, strong tank of a horse, Denman-esque. Again, won a point. But sure, when you win the Supreme Novices by 20 lengths, the champion hurdle has to be on the table. Now, I do think no Supreme Novice winner has won it since Bula or something. I don't know. You probably... You know, your era, is it?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Don't worry, I'm coming back with a pelter after this then.
So look, that'll definitely be on the table. Like I said, we have a good few horses with novice chasing, and he obviously the standout novice hurdler we had last year. If something, if Honeysuckle had an off day, it's a winnable race for a horse of his quality. But I've never seen a champion hurdle horse look like he does. But that doesn't mean it can't be done.
Does he fly the fences at home quickly then, Patrick?
Well, we haven't, like I said, we haven't schooled any of them yet.
Right.
But Pat ran in 2 points. He was third behind Envoy Allen, and then he won. So all of Pat Doyle's usually jump fantastically well, So
at least we can put a line through it. He's a proper 2-miler now. That's appreciated. What an absolute pleasure. Right, professional reputation at stake. Give us a dark one to follow, Patrick, if you don't mind.
Oh, a dark one. He mightn't be hugely dark, but we have a walk in the park out at Key Vega. He's not named yet. He's a 4-year-old. He possibly was swapped at the cradle because he's about 4 times the size she was. But he'd catch her eye on the gallop every morning, and I'm really looking forward to getting onto him. He's not named yet, but he's out of Key Vega.
Right, people are writing that down. Mention of Cuego as well. Patrick, absolute pleasure. Thanks for joining us here on the Big Jump Off preview. We'll see loads more of you at the Racing Post, of course, throughout the season. Best luck ahead. All the best to the team.
Thanks very much, Dave. Thank you.
Time for the novices. This is, again, lots of people I'm thinking will be excited by the Champion Chase, by the Gold Cup. This is the one where people have latched onto a bum ball. Maddy's. This is a free-for-all, guys. We have no idea where we're going with this. Chasers. Now we can.
Now we're getting...
Well, now you can talk, yeah. Now you can talk. Now it's very interesting. Now, the one horse we've already had, I mean, I think Maddy agrees with DJ, David Jennings.
Sprinter Sacre.
He's already said the best chaser since Sprinter Sacre already. He hasn't jumped the fence yet. What's going on? I mean, I put it down to people being young, whereas I'm a gnarled old veteran now, and I just, I take everything with a pinch of salt, and I'm a massive cynic. But it was, it's quite funny, because these novice hurdles are not very good at producing Gold Cup winners, future Gold Cup winners.
Yeah.
Like, aside from the in its infancy, the Albert Bartlett, which has had Bobsworth and Manila Indo. The last winner of the Ballymore to go on to win a Gold Cup was Davy Ladd in 1977. And I think the last winner of the Supreme was Saffron Tartan in 1961.
You are old.
But you've got to have a bit of fun, haven't you?
Well, yeah, but
Start the season off.
Let's not get carried away. Look, you're going to be putting money down. Now, if you're going to be putting money down, right, it pays to be a cynic. It pays to say, well, I'm going to take this one on. So while everyone's laughing at me for taking on Envoy Allen when he was 4-9, for Cheltenham.
But you can still take these horses on, can't you? I think he's going to be a fantastic horse, and I'd probably back against him for the purpose of punting.
Were you with him in his novice hurdle season?
Yes, I was.
Right,
yes, I was.
So you're going to be with him over fences?
I'm not. I'm not like that. I am not like that.
I guarantee he is.
But, he's a very, very good horse. There's no doubt about it. One, he's got to prove he can jump. Two, he's got to prove it wasn't just physical maturity and precocity that had him ahead of the rest.
Let's say he can.
If he can, he's very good. He's obviously a serious talent. But Now, here we see Braeburn's Game got beat 12.5 lengths by him at Cheltenham.
Still has to be seen to be believed that. Braeburns Game also got beaten at Aintree. Lucinda Russell.
Ahoy, Senor.
Ahoy, Senor.
I think he'll be a great novice chaser to follow that horse.
This is a very good horse, this is. I mean, the way she was talking about him afterwards, they fancied him that day. Don't ignore the price. He went from a 2-mile maiden hurdle at Ayr to winning a 3-mile Grade 1. So there was a reason he was 66-1. But she said afterwards, don't know how he got him beating a bumper. Can't wait to see him go chasing, jumping. Is the making of it.
I'm excited for that horse.
Yeah. Do you remember after the Cheltenham Festival?
You will not see. Let's just finish. You will not see a better first round of jumping than you saw from Braeburns Game this season.
This is what, do you remember as soon as the ink was drying on our pages, after his defeat in the Neptune, Ballymore, Nichols was pretty angry, wasn't he? And he talked through emotion. And he said, the problem is, we're going to win 6 novice chases, we will come to the Cheltenham Festival and we will get beaten again by
Bob but you talk to people when they're down, you're only
this guy looked extremely impressive. A lot of people thought a 60.
I'm sure he was equally down when Denman got beat by Nicanor years ago.
And the comparisons, Paul can't help making.
Well, he made those comparisons, so you've saddled him with something there, haven't you? And he might have regretted that, but. This is a statement of intent. Sending him, you think, Newton Abbott, Mickey Mouse races Newton Abbott. He ran him against 2 horses that were placed in Grade 1s over fences at this year's festival. Now, yes, he was getting weight, but they had experience, and he jumped them silly.
It was beautiful.
And he won in a near canter. Whatever he is, and if he doesn't turn out to be top class, then, if he doesn't turn out to be the best around, then that's fair enough. Whatever he is, he's going to be much better than he was over hurdles, and he was already very good over hurdles. Can he close the gap?
Well, he's probably going to go a different route, isn't he?
Well, Nichols said to me that some horses, as you were touching on, with hurdling, you expect them to make into these chases, but they don't necessarily take to it. And he said this horse clearly has, because he has that jumping style. He also said, typical Nichols line, we've already trotted out once already on this show, Cheltenham isn't everything. The words he said to me a couple of days ago after I rang him after Newton Abbott were 2022 King George.
Yes,
so a note of caution if you are looking to back Braeburns Game for the festival. Well, Nichols, if he thinks he's going to get beaten there, then he might just skip it.
This is it. He also said, I don't think we need to be going 3 mile yet. Obviously, it was 3 mile when he got beat Aintree.
Yeah.
But Henry de Bromhead has come out and said, I think we'll stick to the mid races as well. You know what I mean? So you're talking.
It's up in the air. What about Appreciate It then? Personally, I would stay hurdling. He's getting on. The younger horse.
Well, the thing is, he's 7. He's going to be 8 next year.
They don't win Arkles. What was it? Sizing Europe? Was it?
Captain CB was 7. He had a good novice season. Did he go favourite for the Arkle? I know he blew out in the Arkle, but he'd fallen before that and they had to rush a race into him. And he won a Grade 1 at the end of that season, so he was good. I think Like a Butterfly was an 8-year-old winner, and she won Grade 1 novice chases. No reason why he can't. He's by Jeremy. Now Jeremy, his best chaser is Mr. Fisher, who has serious jumping issues. Another one is Reserve Tank. Serious jumping issues.
It's all hurdles.
I'm just a little bit worried about that. Quite a few Jeremys don't seem to be as natural.
It was a 7 furlong Michael Stout.
The thing is, project. I mean, he was miles better than the 2 mile novices last year. I think the Supreme did fall apart because Ballyadam wasn't right and the English were rubbish. They didn't run their best horses anyway. But he's in pole position.
Can I throw in a name? Galopin des Champs. He could still go stay as hurdle, but I think we'll see him chasing.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a massive player. He ended up turning into one of the best, but as a staying horse. And the 3 horses, because he won the Martin Pipe, and he was quite a gamble in the Martin Pipe to be, that short against Langadan, and he won it comfortably. Now, his 3 previous winners of the Martin Pipe were Sir Deschamps, Gilolta Vic, and Don Poli.
Exactly.
So you're in proper company there, aren't you? So he's a major player. I think he got a 161 when he won at Punchestown.
He was so impressive that day. I know the race fell apart a little bit with Vanilio, who will come back up against him, but he'd be my novice chaser.
Yeah, I think I've got him down as definitely going over fences as well. Funnily enough, I asked DJ for an email, Dave Jennings. So I think I've got him down as going over fences.
My Drogo, the name we've not mentioned.
My Drogo.
Oh, Mads, yes. Is this going to be one of those skeleton horses that doesn't? That he does have these, doesn't he? Looks
I have
so
that
good.
feeling. I have that feeling. There's just an element, something I'm still a little bit stuck on with this horse, and I think it could be such a great division.
The Marsh.
We're going to find out. Yeah, we're going to find out where we stand.
This is what we've got now. See, all these horses, they're all saying, well, we don't need to go 3 mile yet. We don't need to go 3 mile yet. One of them is going to think, well, hang on a minute, I might get in a 7-runner.
The Corto.
It's Brown Advisory now, isn't it?
Day, right?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the Brown Advisory Novices Chase now. I might say, well, actually, I'll get into a 7-runner, watch it over 3 mile at evens here. So if you're having a bit ante-post.
With the Vanilliers and with those sort of horses, could they go there instead of, say, going for the National Hunt Chase, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you would expect a horse like Vanillier to be aimed at the Grade 1 because he's already won the Grade 1 over hurdles, wouldn't you? But you never can tell.
It's an exciting division, though, right? I mean, the novice.
The novice chase division is really exciting because all the good hurdlers are going chasing.
Yeah.
It renders the hurdle division you actually a little bit. You know what is going to be different, don't you? You know what I mean? But the novice chaser division is absolutely fascinating. I think Flash Colons of Paul Nicholls looked really good when he won at Kelso. I know it's a Mickey Mouse race at Kelso, but he didn't look particularly well handicapped when he went there, and he's got chaser written all over him. Nicky Henderson, who didn't have a good novice hurdler last year, didn't have a runner in the Supreme, the Albert Bartlett, or the Ballymore. Wow. Mr. Coffee is a giant of a horse.
I'll throw in Dusart as well as another one.
I love Dusart.
Well, he's Simon Sigg's half brother, and you know
he had a terrible injury on the gallops. It literally, a bit of fencing went into his chest, and they didn't think they were going to get.
Yeah, well,
he
said he was half ready, and he still finished third at the Belfast Banter at Aintree.
And they really fancied him that day, and he just had a massive.
I had him for the Supreme. It was another Maddy Playle ante-post disaster with Dusart.
Yeah, and if he stays sound, Craig Nesh will be okay as well. Second to heaven help us.
And Ahoy Sonor, don't forget him as well.
And Ahoy Sonor. So there are plenty. There are plenty of potentially very good chasers, and there will be some that I've probably got a list of about 35 that I'm working on at the moment, and there will be some that aren't in there that we've missed completely. There will be some that come from absolutely nowhere too, because that's what happens when horses are faced with fences. It's fascinating. It is without a doubt, from 2 mile to 3 mile, the most exciting and interesting jumps division this season, without a doubt.
There you go. The appetite is out there. It's never been like this before. Kill says, never been some better novices either. So we've heard from all of the Racing Post experts here in the studio with their horses to follow. We want to know about your horses to follow, however. And to get some help, we've asked the biggest names out there in Twitterland.
Hey, it's Frankie Foster here, and my horse to follow for the 2021-22 jump season this year is Classic Getaway for Willie Mullins. This horse went for a lot of money. It went on to win a bumper by around 15 lengths, and more excitingly, it could have a crack at the Supreme Novice at Cheltenham. You never quite know where these novices are going to go, but it does make the season that little bit more exciting, following a horse that you think might end up doing the business day one at Cheltenham. So for me, Classic Getaway for Willie Mullins this year.
Hi, Nats Green here. My horse to follow is a horse called Ahoy Signor, trained by Lucinda Russell. Now, a few weeks ago, I was lucky enough to go to Lucinda's Open Day, and my goodness, he was standout, an absolute chaser in the making. He will go novice chasing, and I imagine he'll start at Carlisle, so do keep an eye out for him. That Aintree form over hurdles and that Grade 1 when he beat Bravesman Game, that was awesome. That was really, really good form. Now, ante-post-wise, at the Cheltenham Festival, he's a whopping price for that 3 mile Brown Advisory Novices Chase. He's just too big of a price. So that's going to be my ante-post bet. He is also my horse to follow. There's just so much to like about him. The team know how to ready a winner for these big race meetings. So ahoy, Signor.
My horse to follow for the forthcoming National Hunt season is going to be LA Belle. Dan Skelton's 5-year-old mare by fame and glory has done very little wrong in her 4-race career so far, winning her first 2 at Aintree and then enlisted company at Cheltenham, where she dead heated for the win in controversial style because the photo finish couldn't split the front 2 due to the darkening light. She was subsequently given 4 months off, returned for the champion bumper where she ran a blinder to finish 3rd behind Sir Gerhard and Kilcrid. She had no right to finish in the places in that run because she was ridden in rear, which certainly wasn't the place to be. Again, she was ridden in similar style at Aintree in the Grade 2 Mares Bumper, where she finished second behind Me Too Please, who followed up by winning her next start on the flat. The Mares Novice Hurdle programme looks perfect for LA Bell, hopefully resulting in a tilt at the Dawn Run Mares Novices Hurdle at the Cheltenham Festival.
Good morning everyone, it's the Racing Blogger here with my jumps horse to follow for the 21-22 season ahead. Look, we're all looking forward to seeing the Shishkins, the Bob Ollingers and the Appreciate It, but how about Nick Kent's 6-year-old Earn River, who won a point-to-point over 3 miles at Dungarvan, beating Donald McCain's Manila Drama, who's a 140 plus hurdler. He's due to make his chase debut this Saturday at Market Raisin. Earn River by the great jump stallion Califet. His two wins last season at Warwick and Donny over hurdles were very, very impressive indeed. He's got a mark of around 125. If Connections decide to stay over hurdles or go over fences, I think he's very much one to keep on side. He's got a lot of talent, this horse, and Nick Kent's horses will fly very much under the radar. Earn River is my horse to follow for the jump season ahead, and what a season it's going to be.
There you go, bit of fun then with the social influencers, and we'll see how that goes. One to follow then. This is it. Of all the guff that we've talked, one to follow. Mad, you've been itching to do this. Who wins the 2022 Arc? No, not the Arc. Who is the Triumph?
Very much a dark horse. We all know Gary Moore and the heartbreak he had with Goshen. I think he could have a really smart horse on his hands. We haven't seen him in this country yet. The name is Porticello. He won at Auteuil when trained by David Cottan. Also in that race, back behind in third, I believe, was Magistrato, who we saw winning at the Silver Trophy meeting for Paul Nicholls. He's going to be a really good juvenile hurdler, but Porticello's already beaten him. He's now with Gary Moore. He's really, really talented and just a dark one. People might not have heard of him yet. I think he could be a really, really good juvenile hurdler for this season.
Love it. Keyboards burning away to rid of the ghost of Goshen in the Triumph for the Moors. Keels.
Right, well, obviously Clanders wins the King George. I really did like the look of Cape Gentleman the other day at Punchestown. Thought he jumped really well, apart from one mistake, really straight. He's going to be better than his mark. Where he ends up, I don't know, but he's going to be a decent novice chaser. Yep. And if Mr. Nichols gets Lawler back to his best, or even better than his best, he's going to win the Paddy Power Gold Cup without coming off the bridle.
Yes, he's
first time out, bang, away you go. Horse that goes really well fresh, likes Cheltenham.
Could have a stone in hand.
9-year-old could
love it.
Have a stone in hand.
Typical Keels. I'll throw in Dark Raven, then I gave you Montmorel at the top of the show. There you go. That's the tipping section. What a pleasure. Well, there we go then. I think we've covered all the bases for you. And what a pleasure it has been for myself, Dave Orton, to guide you through with the best names at the Racing Post. All their horses to follow and some ante-post nuggets. Paul Nicholls, Patrick Mullins. It's as good as it gets here. Don't forget, this week then, the big jump off is out. You can get it digitally, or indeed if you go and buy the paper. Loads of work has gone into that. Loads of nuggets that you might not have seen on this show. Enjoy the jump season, guys.